Senator Kennedy has been shot. Is that possible? Is that possible? Senator Kennedy, oh my God.
My father was shot 4 times. One of the shots, and all 4 times were from behind.
Hold him! Hold him! We don't want another Oswald! Hold him, Raper! We don't want another Oswald!
What's up, guys? It's your boy, Benny. You deserve to know the dark truth about the evils of your federal government, and there is one presidential candidate who happens to be running right now who has a bit of an axe to grind. His name is Robert Kennedy Jr. His father and his uncle, John F. Kennedy, were both killed, and Robert Kennedy Jr. says he knows who killed them, and it's not the official story. The official story of the murder of his father is that a busboy named Sirhan, a Palestinian immigrant born in Jerusalem, shot his dad with a revolver. This is the photo of the guy. He's been locked up since 1968. This was after his father, who was running for president at the time and was the odds-on favorite to win the Democratic nomination for president and the presidency itself, was shot after giving a speech in Los Angeles. And so what happened, ladies and gentlemen, and why is this clip now going viral? This is a clip that's gone viral of Robert Kennedy Jr. talking about who actually killed his father. Robert Kennedy Jr. believes that his father, who was the Attorney General under JFK, who hated the intelligence agencies just like JFK did, who wanted to splinter and scatter them to the wind, just like JFK did, who may have reopened the investigation into the killing of John F. Kennedy, well, that his father was killed by a CIA-affiliated security guard, effectively. Robert Kennedy Jr. does not think that Sirhan killed his dad. So here's the famous photo here. This is Robert Kennedy laying on the ground after being shot a couple of times. Robert Kennedy Jr. is not convinced that Sirhan shot his father. Robert Kennedy Jr. has actually gone in and met with Sirhan behind bars, and he left saying, "This guy did not kill my dad." This is crazy stuff, okay? So let's let Kennedy speak in his own words here, ladies and gentlemen, beginning with the setup. Robert Kennedy Jr. says that it is impossible for Sirhan, based on the autopsy evidence, to have been the killer of his dad. Watch.
There were 77 eyewitnesses in the kitchen of the Ambassador Hotel when my father was killed. And many of them had a view of what happened. You know, very few of them could view the whole scene, but they could view parts of it. Everybody, without exception, places Sirhan from 5 feet to 10 feet away from my father in front of him. He never got behind him. He was always in front with a table between them, a steam table. Sirhan fired 2 shots at my father. The first one hit Paul Schrade in the head. The second one hit a door jamb at my father's head level behind my father. Then he was grabbed by Carl Olker, who was the concierge at the Ambassador Hotel, and by Rafer Johnson and 6 other people. There was a dog pile, and they all piled on him, and they grabbed, the first thing they did was grab his hand. They directed in the opposite direction, and they could not get the gun away from him, and he was powerful as a Superman, they said. So they were all trying to take the gun away from him.
He's only this big.
He's a little guy. And he fired 6 shots in the other direction. All of them hit people. One person got hit twice, but all those bullets are accounted for. There were only 8 chambers in his gun. And 2 were fired toward my father and 6 in the opposite direction. And we know what happened to every one of those bullets. My father was shot 4 times. One of the shots, and all 4 times were from behind.
What?
And with a gun and they were all what the coroner, Thomas Noguchi, said, contact shots. And the barrel of the gun was touching my father when the trigger was pulled.
So the autopsy shows that Robert Kennedy Jr. was shot at close range, was shot by somebody who was not across the room. There were a lot of witnesses in this crowded room. The Kennedys, I guess, obviously knew better than to travel inside of open vehicles and open limousines at this time, and they had a lot of enemies. So who did kill his father? Who did kill RFK? Well, apparently the friend of RFK who was there, who showed RFK Jr. the autopsy evidence, this was a Union leader at the time, who was also himself shot, knew full well that it was never Sirhan. This entire thing was a cover-up. Watch.
Schrade, who was with my father when he was shot, was a Union leader, one of the heads of the United Auto Workers. He was the guy who recruited Cesar Chavez into the labor movement. And he introduced him to my father, and they became best friends. And so Paul was very, very close to my father and was with him. The first bullet that Sirhan fired hit Paul Schrade in the head. And Paul Schrade has never believed that Sirhan killed my father.
Wow.
He knows that he shot him. But Sirhan, and so I ended up, Paul forced me to sit down to read the autopsy report, stuff I never wanted to do, and to look at all the evidence that has accumulated since my father's death. And
so Ethel's your mother, right?
Ethel's my mother.
All right.
RFK says that the actual killer is somebody who has since fled America and died in like Costa Rica, that the actual killer was a CIA-connected bodyguard for RFK for that event. Huh? Well, let's have a listen.
And the person who almost certainly fired those shots was a security guard who was holding my father's arm at that time, called Eugene Caesar. And a dozen people saw him with his gun drawn. My father fell back on him, and as he fell, he turned and pulled off Cesar's clip-on tie. Caesar lied to the police about his gun. He told many, many different stories about when he had drawn his gun. He lied. He said he did own a .22. The police didn't talk to him that night, didn't confiscate his gun. The time they talked to him, he said, yeah, I owned a .22, but I sold it a month before the shooting. As it turns out, that was a lie. He sold it a month after the shooting, and he sold it to a man who worked with him in the high security section of the Lockheed factory here in Los Angeles, who then moved to Arkansas, later talked to investigators and said, yeah, he had a receipt for when it was sold, and it was sold in July. My father was killed in June. And Caesar told him at that time, this gun was used in a crime, so don't talk to anybody about it. Caesar, as it turns out, is a CIA asset. He died about 3 weeks ago, and he died in the Philippines, where he's lived for the past 3 decades.
What?
And but he's almost certainly the person who killed my father. Now, his job as a security guard that night, he got 5 days before, when it was already known that my father was going to be speaking there.
RFK also goes into details about how the LAPD covered up the murder, much like the Dallas Police Department covered up the evidence for his uncle's murder. Watch.
And then, the investigation was a botched investigation. It appears to have been deliberately botched by the LAPD. It was run by people within the LAPD, all of whom there was a special unit created called Special Unit Senator to investigate my father's death. Almost all the members of that unit were ex-CIA agents who had trained in the CIA farm in Virginia and shipped down to Latin America to do dirty tricks work there, and then brought back for this investigation. And they destroyed, before Sirhan's trial, they They destroyed 1,200 pieces of evidence, including all the bullets, and about 1,200 photographs as well that were taken in the room that night.
So that's what RFK has unveiled there in that viral clip. How did the CIA kill John F. Kennedy and RFK? Hotboxing with Mike Tyson. Here it is on YouTube. People are saying that it's been taken off YouTube. That's a lie. Here's the interview, and this is posted on Mike Tyson's channel. This is Mike Tyson's channel. So I guess the answer is yeah. Wow. And this is like extremely well researched, obviously by RFK. I was disturbed that the wrong person might have been convicted of killing my father. My father was the chief law enforcement officer of this country. I think it would have disturbed him if somebody was put in jail for a crime that they did not commit. Well, ladies and gentlemen, RFK was doing a super successful Twitter Spaces with Elon Musk. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people listening in, making a lot of news, gaining in the polls, and has some big-time endorsements like Jack Dorsey, previous CEO of Twitter. I don't know, the revenge arc and the redemption arc for Jack Dorsey is a little weird. Got to tell you, I really hate that guy. But, ladies and gentlemen, we are for free speech, and we are definitely for RFK making his case here, and it is quite a compelling one. People are going to have to answer for this. Dude, I am like, is RFK becoming the chaos candidate? Is RFK going to win the Iowa caucuses and the New Hampshire primary against Joe Biden? It looks like it. The DNC is like pulling out of those states. Holy smokes. What are we headed for right now? The American public is sick of the lies. And RFK is ready to tell the truth. We're on Team Truth here. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe. See ya.